Welcome you all. In last class, we have studied the configuration of the transistor, the common base configuration, common emitter configuration, and common collector configuration, and then the working of the common base configuration. Now, in this lecture, the third lecture, we'll discuss about the input characteristic curve, early effect, and then dynamic input resistance, output characteristic curve, and then dynamic output resistance. And I will again request to all students, if you have any question, okay, any doubt, please write in a comment box. Remember, this is the basic building of your career in the field of electronics. Transistor is everywhere. Now you know that in all your electronic gadgets, there is a requirement of transistor, and the lots of hundreds and hundreds of transistors are there. And basically don't know that there are so many transistors. Transistor means that we just understand that the radio. No, transistor is a different part which we have in all electronic instruments. And the number of thousands are numbered. In some devices, 1,000 numbers. It has a different function. In the first class we understand that it has amplification function. It has this switching action. All these are used as for the all these things are used by the transistor. Done by the transistor. Okay, so now we'll move to our this part. So I will say stop sharing. Okay, so now, so when we'll see, we will go with the configuration in the common base configuration. So again, I am drawing this very simple. Now this you have to be easy kept for you. So this is the NPN transistor. We do all these things for NPN transistor. So NPN transistor, emitter is N type, base is P type, and collector is N type. Okay, and then you have, since it is NPN transistor, emitter current will come out, base and collector will go in. Okay, and then this end is in the forward bias, that is emitter base, and this end is in the reverse bias, that is a collector base. Okay, now this is the input end, this is your output end. So input end current is emitter current, and the voltage is VBE. See that? Emitter current and voltage is VBE. The output variables, output current IC, and output variable VCB. Okay, now we have to draw the input characteristic curve. Okay, so what is input characteristic curve? Very simple. It's a graphical representation of input variables. It's a graphical representation of input variables with respect to variable output voltage. Variable output voltage. So it's a curve between IE and VCE for different voltage of VCB. Okay, so we have drawn this characteristic curve. I'll tell you how it comes. First, we have drawn this characteristic curve. So see that the y-axis is current, x-axis is voltage. We have input curve, input current, that is IE, output current, input voltage, that is VBE. Voltage will be in the terms of volt, and current will be in terms of milliampere, because this is the majority charge carrier. Current due to majority charge carriers. Okay. So, and the the input characteristic is the curve between the input variables, this variable and this variable, for different output voltages, 0 volt first, 5 volt second, and 10 volt third. So for different output variables, I have a curve between the voltage, graph between the I and VB. Okay, we'll first understand this curve. We'll analysis this curve. The VCB is equal to 0 volt. Okay, see that this, if you see the configuration again here, And if you have to draw the input characteristic curve, this end is in forward bias. This is in the reverse bias, right? Okay. So now this diode basically becomes forward and this diode becomes the reverse bias. The current in the output, this diode, that common collector base, is very negligible, is completely zero. So total current comes from this end, that emitter based biasing. Okay, emitter based region. So now if you have to draw the input characteristic curve, the input characteristic curve comes from this end only, IB and VBE, and this end, the input variables belongs to the forward bias. It means the input characteristic curve of the CV configuration should be similar to the forward bias configuration of the diode. You understand again? I'm repeating again. Since we have to draw input, we have to draw graphical representation between curve between input variables, and these input variables belongs to this forward biasing. Okay, emitter based junction. Emitter based junction is a forward biasing. It means input variables completely depends on the forward biasing, and hence the input characteristic curve will be similar to the forward bias characteristics curve of a diode, that is called D1. So this is I have explained here. This is your transistor, which can be written as a 2 diode, can be explained as a 2 diode. Okay, that is, the first one is a diode D1, and the second one is a diode D2. Diode D1 in the active mode. Remember, we all this is studying in the active mode. So that in active mode, diode D1 is in forward bias, and diode D2 is in the reverse bias. And input variables belongs to the forward bias, that is a diode D1. Basically, input variables belongs to the diode D1, and diode D1 is in the forward bias. So input characteristic curve will be similar to the forward bias characteristic curve of a diode, that is D1. Okay. Now, so this we have explained. We have explained this one. See that? So we know that it's a forward input. Input characteristic is a forward bias characteristic curve of a diode, and we know the forward bias characteristic curve. What is the forward bias characteristic curve? We have studied in the diode part. If this is current, and so since it is a forward bias, so it should be milliampere. It is voltage, and then we have this curve. If you remember the input voltage characteristic curve of the diode, and you see this is similar. See that this is exactly similar. Okay, so we have discussed this one easily. Basically, this all are the same characteristic curve, but now we have to analysis why, when we are increasing the output voltage, why there is a shift. This shift, when we are increasing VCB from 0 volt to 5 volt to 10 volt, why this curve is shifting here? Okay, why this curve is shifting here? Very good. This can be explained by early effect. Okay, so we'll see what is the early effect. Okay, so now before biasing, I have this. I will again draw this. So for the ease, I will draw this. Okay, so I have this N type, this is P type, and this is NPN transistor we have. This is the emitter in, this is the collector in, and this is the, sorry, base in, this is base in, and this is the collector ring. And this is your emitter ring. Okay, very good. So this is the your base width. This is junction J1 and this is junction J2. Now, what happened? Now, when you increase the BCB, BCB is the reverse bias voltage. It's output voltage, that's the reverse bias. So now when you increase the reverse bias voltage, what will happen? The width of the depletion layer will increase. So when you will increase the VCB, that is output voltage, that is reverse bias voltage, when you will increase this, the junction width, that is J1 and J2, that will increase. So what will happen when it will increase? Now when will it increase? Definitely it will not create its own space. It will have to somehow penetrate either in the this way, either in the this way, that is collector way, or in the this way, emitter way. Sorry, base way. Okay. So when I will increase the reverse bias voltage, the width of the depletion layer should increase, and this increment will be the compensated by penetration in the either collector region or the base region. But since we know base region is a lightly doped, and hence there is a chance, so that's why the depletion layer more penetrates in the base region than the collector region. Okay, I'm again repeating, since the base region is a lightly doped, and that is why penetration of the depletion layer is more in the base region than the collector region. Okay, so you can understand this in some way here. See that? You can see that now the penetration happened. Now the depletion layer width has been penetrated this much. Okay. So earlier, before biasing, when we do not have any biasing, okay, that is VCB 0 condition. Before biasing means VCB is 0. Wait. So this is VCB 0. That's the without biasing condition. Okay, you can say unbiased condition. In reverse case is unbiased. Okay, so at this case we have this one is called base width. Okay, this one is called base width. Okay, J1 से J2 तक जितना भी आपका गैप है, सॉरी विड्थ है, वो आपका बेस विड्थ हो गया. Now what will happen? Since we have increased the VCB voltage increased from 0 to how much? 5 volt. Okay, so what will happen? Now when this J2, okay, this J2 which was till here only, okay, now it has moved this way. Okay, if you increase more, it has moved this way. So let us consider at some VCB voltage, that is VCB some V voltage, okay, 5 volt. Let us consider 5 volt or 10 volt. Let us consider 10 volt. At VCB 10 volt, this penetration happens till here. Okay, so now the width of the base, okay, penetration one, this one will be this one. This is the width of the penetrated depletion region in the base. Now the original width of the base is this one. This one is now the penetrated one. Okay, so what is the now effective one? So this one is effective one. So this one is the total one. Okay, from here to here is the penetrated one. So this is the effective base where the recombination can happen. That you have to understand again. So earlier I have a base width. Okay, earlier I have a base width till here. Okay, this was the base width where the recombination can happen. Now when I increase the reverse bias voltage, this junction depletion layer width has increased, and now this width depletion layer width has increased, and now from it increased till here. Okay, earlier it was only here, so now it is increased till here. Okay, so all this becomes the depletion region. All this becomes depletion region where no charge carriers will happen. So there is no recombination will happen. Only recombination can happen in this area, which is now get reduced. Okay, so that's what we'll do some mathematics here now to understand that. We will already understand it. You got it? Okay, so we'll see that W effective is will be nothing but the W total WB will be equal to the W effective plus W, and so W effective will be this W effective will be WB minus W. Okay, now we know that if we will increase the reverse bias voltage, what will happen? Depletion width range will increase, and that is the penetration in the base region. Penetration in the base region will increase. That is the W. So W will increase, and then what will happen in turn? W effective will decrease. This is the reason where the recombination can happen, and that will contribute in the base voltage, base current. When W effective will get reduced, it means base current will also get reduced. And when the base current will get reduced, then your collector current will be the more. Okay. One minute. So this will remove this all. Okay, and then we'll come here. Okay, so this is all these things we have. We have all done all these things. If VCB increases, then chances of recombination of charge carriers decreases, and hence since there is less electrons will be the recombined, then your emitter current will increase. So this will be there. The emitter current will increase. Okay. So at the end, we have established that if we will increase the VCB voltage, that is the reverse bias voltage, emitter current will increase because the base current is decreasing. Okay. Now we can't say the base current is decreasing basically because recombination is less. Okay. So mostly emitter current will increase. Okay. So this will be done here. So again, I will go to explain this one. We have curve somewhere. Okay, good. Now again, what we have learned, we will use here. So when I am increasing the reverse bias voltage, what I learned that I will increase the reverse bias voltage, my input current that is IE will increase. Okay, and this will increase. So now see that for a given output voltage, this one at 0 voltage, I have this much input current, and I have this much input current for 5 volts. See that IE is increased, and that has increased because less recombination happens in the base region. Okay. Okay, so this is clear already. Okay, good. I hope you have understand this. Again, pay attention this. If you have any confusion, any doubt, ask me again in the comment section. So we have done with the Arley effect. This is called Arley effect. When we will increase the VCB, we have a increase in the emitter current. Okay, there's a one concept called punch through effect. It's called when we will increase the reverse bias, what will happen? The penetration in the base region will increase at some voltage. What will happen? It will completely overlap the base region. Okay, so what will happen? W effective will be go to the 0, and that condition is called punch through effect. Okay, so now we have a dynamic input resistance. So we have, since we have an input characteristic curve, so we will get the input resistance. We will know why it is called dynamic. See that, remember we have a IV curve, okay, for an ohmic circuit, that is a straight line. But for diode, it is like this one. This is called non-ohmic circuit. So in this case, okay, so in this case, it's a ohmic one where the resistance will be the constant. You remember resistance is constant for one diode, okay. Resistance change when you change the diode length, geometry, you change the diode material. But if diode is fixed, then even if you increase current voltage, resistance will not change. But in the non-ohmic circuit, which is in the case of the diode, we have a change in the resistance at different point. That's called dynamic resistance. That's why it's called dynamic. This one is called static. This one is called static. If it is constant, then it's static. If it is changing one, it's dynamic. Since it's a diode characteristic curve, input configuration is very much similar to the forward bias characteristic curve of a diode, and forward characteristic curve of the diode is nothing but a non-ohmic circuit. So we will have a dynamic resistance. And since we are getting from the input variables, it will be the dynamic input resistance. Okay, we'll see how we analyze this one. Okay, so again, I have a curve, we know that. So let us consider at some voltage 0.8, I have a current that is B, okay, and at some voltage 0.99, I have a current at this point A, and this is here C, okay. Now I have to find the dynamic resistance here in this. I find the dynamic resistance, okay. I can find dynamic resistance at some constant voltage. So either I have to found for this voltage, or I can find at this voltage, because these two characteristics are different. Remember, these two characteristics are completely different. If we change the output voltage, the curve will change the position. So I can find a dynamic resistance either for this voltage or for this voltage. I am in this example, I am finding the dynamic resistance for this voltage. That's why I have taken the point A and the point B. Okay. Remember this is the IV. When we say current, okay, so if it is, if you will find the slope here, the I by V, that will give you the slope, and that is not, we can say IV, it's a delta I by delta V. That will give me the slope, and that will be equal to 1 by R. Okay. So if we draw a slope of this curve at these 2 points, okay, we find the slope of this curve at any point. We'll see that the slope will be given by here. This del y slope will be given as a. But remember, if I use the somewhere I have. Okay, I will use here value. So slope is given by what will slope? If it is xy curve, then slope is del y upon del x. This is what is called slope. Remember, class 12th mathematics. Slope is del y by del x. In y coordinate we have a current. Okay. In y coordinate we have a current, and the x coordinate we have the voltage. So if we use this here, so del y will be similar to this y1, that is the current, that is delta IE, and then del x will be given as this delta voltage. This delta IE is nothing but the AC. See that? This is similar to the AC. This one is the AC or AC. And delta V is nothing but the BC. Okay. So if I'll extend it here, otherwise I will write somewhere here. Okay. So this is similar to the AC by BC. But you remember this, del I by del V, this del I by del V was equal to 1 by R. It means this del E by del V, that is equal to AC by BC, will be equal to 1 by R. So R will be equal to BC by AC, and that is what written here. Okay, that's simple mathematics. So I'm removing all this innovation point. Now we'll come directly to here. So resistance is given by BC by AC, that is change in voltage, because BC is a change in voltage, BC, VB, and the AC, that is the change in the input current, that is delta I. Okay, so we'll do some mathematics here. So you can see that BC is how much? 0.9 minus 0.8, that is 0.1 volt. Okay, and AC is 0.9 minus 0.4 milliampere. So that is 0.1 volt. That is 0.1 volt divided by 0.5 milliampere. That comes to the 200 ohm. This resistance is very low. Okay, and this resistance, since it is dynamic, this resistance should vary from point to point, because it's a non-ohmic circuit. Okay, good. Okay, so these are the terms you can understand that, leave it that. I will come to the now the output characteristics curve. Okay. Okay. Now we'll draw the output characteristics curve. So output characteristics curve, it's a graph between the output variables, and we know what is the output variables. There's a collector based region. So collector based region, the output current is the collector current, and output voltage is a collector based voltage. Okay, done. So we'll draw the curve between these two. It's a very interesting one. Okay, so you have to understand it. Forget all these things, mathematics. Okay, I've just drawn a curve. We'll learn how if these lines comes. Okay, so just I have drawn the curves. Enjoy this first, the curve. Okay, so this is the output current. This is the output voltage, and this curve is done for the, it is an output characteristic curve with the curve between the output current and output voltage for different input currents. Remember this. This one is maybe written here. For different input currents. For different input currents. So we have input current, that is I. So for different input currents from here to here. Good. अब देखिए, okay, and I have one question just for to realize you why we are doing this for the different currents. So why we are drawing the output characteristics for the different input current, not the input voltage. The reason is very much because the output current and the output voltage both depend on the input current. Remember that IC, the relation between IC and I, and the VCB what depends on the I. So since both are depends on the I, that's why we are varying the input current, not the input voltage. Okay, so we'll go to our basic equation. This was our basic equation. Okay, IC is equal to input current, that's output output voltage, output current, that is equal to alpha IE plus ICVO. Okay, what will happen if my emitter, the input current is 0 milliampere? What will happen when I have a input current 0? Input current, you understand? IE 0. Okay, so very simple. If you can see in the this design, see that what will happen. This end will be now the open end. This end will be the open end. If you see the mathematically, the IE is how much? 0. So if it is 0, now the IC becomes ICVO. See here, IC becomes ICVO. Or what is ICVO? Is the reverse saturation current. And what the reverse saturation current? Remember, it's a very less current, right? It's in microampere. This current is in the microampere. So this is the current in the collector base region when emitter is open. When the emitter is open. Okay, so this end is open because that's why the input current is 0. And then whatever current you get in this region is called IC, and that is very much similar to the ICBO. Okay, and that is why now we can go and establish this fact here that this 0 milliampere current, this is your collector current, that is ICBO, and this current is very less. That's because it's a microampere. It is very close to this horizontal axis. This horizontal axis, very close to the horizontal axis. So in the diagram, I have just made it upper, okay, but it's very close to the horizontal axis. Okay, so now we have understand this 0 milliampere. What is why we have done this like this? Okay, now we'll move to the other. The next one. Okay, so now we know that IE is in milliampere and ICBO is in the microampere. So when I will have a emitter current, that is I have a count of this IE, then definitely this will have a very less importance, and that can be negligible. So in that case, I will have output current is only due to this input current part, that is alpha IE. As since alpha is very close to 1, that it means my IC is very much similar to the IE. Okay, there's some mistake is written here. It's IE. Again, made it clear here. It's a IE. I will ask two students that change this in your notes. It's IE. Okay, so the output current is very much equal to the input current. Okay, very good. So we'll go here and we will see this here again. So I told, as you will have some account of the emitter current, then your base current, that's the reverse section current, will have no value. Okay, it's negligible, and its IC will be alpha IE. Alpha is very close to 1, so output current will be similar to the input current. So if input current is 1 milliampere, then output will also you will get 1 milliampere, near about close. If IE will be the 2 milliampere, then it will be also a 2 milliampere. Output will also be a 2 milliampere. Okay, very good. Okay, now we'll see this part. Okay, this part I have cleared, right? Now only this part is the remaining one. Okay, this part we have to analysis. You have to analysis this part. But other parts have done. This has been done. All these three has been done. Now this we have to analysis. Okay. Now see that, understand that this also. Now till now remember that here when you are using the positive half, this positive half, you have a VCBE. This is the VCB, and this is in the reverse bias. Remember, collector base is the reverse bias. So it's a reverse bias, and we are using the positive part, that is the VCB is positive. Okay, what will happen if VCB is negative? That is what we have moved this section. Okay, that's what we have to analyze. So what will happen if VCB is negative? Now VC will be the negative. Now if you can see that this one is your here I will draw. Okay, so this is the P type because base was the P type. This is the collector N type. Since it was in a reverse bias, okay, So P type was mixed joined with the low voltage reverse bias, and N type was joined with the high voltage. That's why it's a reverse bias, right? Okay. So this is what is in the when we have a VCB, okay, positive. Now when we will have a VCB negative, okay, so when it will VCB negative means its polarity will get changed. When polarity will get changed, this will be the higher voltage, and this will have the lower voltage. This side will be the lower voltage. Now see that P is connected with the higher end, N is connected with the lower end. Now this region becomes forward bias. See that it was a forward reverse bias when VCB is positive. When you have converted the polarity of the VCB, now this collector base region becomes in reverse bias. Sorry, in the forward bias. Earlier it was in the reverse bias. When you have changed the polarity of the VCB, went to the negative side, negative polarity, it has went to the forward bias. Now if you remember once the slide where I have given the different biasing condition for the mode of the transistor, I will go there. Don't worry, we have to we'll go there. Yeah, very good. So your emitter base is a forward bias, you know the emitter base is in the forward bias condition, and when you have changed the polarity of the collector base, this also becomes the forward bias junction. Then mode will become the saturation mode. Mode will become the saturation mode, and it means it will go and get saturated. Okay, it will go and get the saturated. Okay, so we'll go to the again our earlier slide where we were there. Yes. Okay. Now this is our. Oh, good. So I told you that if both are in the forward bias, transistor is called in saturation mode, and that's called on state. On state means it has to start somewhere from zero. So transistor is in the saturation mode, that is called on state, and hence output current should be zero. That's what it will start from there. Okay. Okay, very good. So again, we'll go to this one. We'll clear. Okay. Again, we'll recall. So now I have moved to this region, reverse bias. So VCB is my negative this side. So the polarity of the VCB is changed. So now the collector base region, which was the reverse bias, now become the forward bias, and hence the transistor becomes in the saturation region. And saturation region means on state, and it means the current has to be start from zero, and that is why the collector current is starting from here. See that everyone has to go and end at the zero, and then from here it is start and cover its this part. Everyone has to start from here. This is the end on state, and then go to the active region. Okay, and one more thing. This part when we are writing, it's never parallel to be this horizontal axis. Why? It's not completely alpha 1. Its alpha is equal to 0.99. So it should not be the parallel. It should be very close to the parallel. Okay. Okay, I hope we are at the end of the lecture. So you can see that the VCB is in the borderline for the saturation region and the active region. VCB is for the 0 volt, and IC0 is the borderline for the active region, the cutoff region. Okay, now we'll see that reverse bias, this output characteristic curve. In output characteristic curve, what do you need? Output variables. That is the output current and the output voltage. This IC and the VCB belongs to this diode D2, and diode D2 is in the reverse bias. It means that output characteristic curve is very much similar to the reverse bias characteristic curve. Okay, good. See, in this basic concept, if you learn, then you will have a very fast. You will learn these things very fast. and it will be easy for me also to explain you. Okay. Now you can see that this is what is called the reverse bias characteristic curve. We know that breakdown condition, breakdown, and here breakdown will happen. So this is the reverse bias characteristics. Okay. Once we will increase the reverse bias voltage, somewhere the breakdown will start, and this is called the breakdown. Okay. Output current increases sharply. That's what called breakdown. Okay. So that's what you have see that this way in the your diode characteristic. Okay. This is was similar to here. Okay, good. Okay, now we'll come to the dynamic resistance. So again, same. If you have to find the dynamic resistance will be the del V by del IC. Okay, at the sum of input current, because this curve has a, I told you the from the last only, the resistance is nothing but the del V by del I. So change in this voltage VCB and change in x-axis and change in y-axis. Change in the VCB, change in the input this output current IC for different IE, input current IE. So what is it is here? Okay. So R naught is the del VCB by upon del IC for different input current, constant input current. Okay. For each curve you have to find your output dynamic resistance. Okay. Since this IC is very small, the variation in the IC is very small. You remember it's very close to the parallel to the line. Okay, very small variation. If it should have a parallel, then it should be at 0. But since it's not parallel, I told you it's not parallel. So there is a very small variation. Hence, it's a very small variation. Hence, the denominator is very low. So R0 will be very high, and this will come to the mega ohm. So dynamic output resistance is very high. Okay, dynamic output resistance is very high. There, dynamic input resistance was low. Remember that? Okay, so we'll have the current again. We'll see the current again in CV configuration. We have a current gain and we have a two type of current gain. One type is called AC current gain and one type is called DC current gain. Okay, the AC current gain that gives you the change due to the change in the current, and DC gives you this is a constant value, so it gives you the constant IC divided by constant I. But when you go for the AC, basically it gives you the change what we have calculated here. Okay. So now we are ending to our lecture. So that you have to remember that we have a two type of the current gain. One is the DC where we have a absolute value IC and IE, and the one is the AC current gain. Okay, where we have a change. Okay, change in the IC in the change in the I due to the change in the output voltage. Okay, see that now this IC is less than IE, right? Now the IE is more or IC is less, so denominator is higher, so alpha will be less, and that is why the current gain in the CV configuration is less than unity. We know that already, and that is equal to 0.95 and 0.98. Okay, so now from the next class we'll study the common emitter configuration. The similar things we'll do what we have done in the common base one. Now I will again urge you all guys that go through this lecture. If you have any doubt, okay, if you have any problem, if you want to ask any problem also on the basis of these questions, you can also share in that comment section. In the next class, we'll start with the C configuration, and then all the same things, the C output characteristics, input characteristics, and the dynamic resistance and the current gain. Okay, so thank you very much. Best wishes. Thanks.